Okay, this is the last set of slides. There's not many here. I just have to briefly go over, because there were the other tissues, we only need the two, there's two others. I'm just going to go through them briefly just to say that they're there. You're going to go into these other tissues much more in depth in other courses as you move through the program. So nervous tissue was the third one. It's the brain, spinal cord, and peripheral nerves. There are two types of cells in the nervous system. There are neurons which directly cause things to happen. They're the messenger cells. And then there are what are called the neuriglia, and the neuriglia support the neurons. So their whole role is to support the neurons. So we can see here this large red area here, this is a neuron. And then these small other cells all around, those are your neuriglia. Now the cells are responsible for transmitting signals between the brain and the spinal cord. And of course, the brain and the spinal cord make up what is called the central nervous system. This is a typical neuron that we can see here. We have the body and the nucleus. We have these dendrites here that come out the back of the body. And then we have this very long extension known as the axon. And then at the end of the axon, it separates out, it branches out to innervate or touch other structures. This nucleus in a neuron can be in the brain, and a neuron via the body to the axon can talk to another neuron. Or in the case of the spinal cord, if it's a motor neuron, meaning it's going to cause a muscle to contract, the nucleus in the body can be in the spinal cord. And then this axon can travel all the way down to the foot from the lower back and so forth. And messages always travel in a neuron from the dendrites to the axon terminals, never the other way around. Always from the dendrites to the axon terminals. The neuriglia, as I said, support and take care of the neurons. Glio means glue-like. So you can see we've got astrocytes here and oligodendrocytes. These are neuriglia, and you can see they attach and work with the major neurons, which are the yellow part here. You can see this is also a neuriglia, and the blue area here, this big thing in the background, that's a neuron. Our next cell is, next tissue, our last one is muscle tissue. Of course, these cells shorten or contract, and contraction results in movement. The muscle cells are called fibers because of their shape. And we're going to get into this way more in clinical anatomy. And there are three types of muscle tissue in the body: skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. We're going to talk about skeletal muscle in clinical anatomy 1. We're going to talk about cardiac muscle in A&P 1, and you're going to discuss smooth muscle in A&P 2. So we can see here we've got the differences between them. So skeletal muscles, causes bones to move at joints. Cardiac muscle, of course, causes movement of blood because it makes the heart contract. And then smooth muscle can make food materials pass through the gut, for example. Skeletal muscle finds attachment to the skeletal system itself, in other words, bone. It helps us move, maintain our posture, and strengthens our joints. So we can see it here. We've talked a little bit about this. We will be going into this in a little bit more depth in clinical anatomy 1. Smooth muscle is also known as visceral muscle. It's found extensively in the digestive system, urinary bladder, and blood vessels. And depending on the organ where it's found, it has different responsibilities. In blood vessels, it dilates and constricts blood vessels. In the intestines, it moves material through the intestinal tract. And in the bladder, it's responsible for contracting, which expels urine when you urinate. We can see here it looks slightly different. Remember, we've got our muscle cell here, our skeletal muscle cell here, and then we've got our smooth muscle cell here. You can see it contracts slightly different. And here we're looking at the stomach. It has 3 layers of muscles in it, 1, 2, and 3. They all go in different directions, and that causes the muscle to contract in a particular way to squish and break down foods that we're eating. Our last muscle is cardiac muscle. It's found only in the heart. It creates the pump that moves blood through the body. The cells fit tightly and have open communication between cells, which allows things to move very quickly through the muscle cells of the heart. And this allows for, as I say, very rapid conduction of contraction stimulus throughout the heart. And we can see them here. They kind of branch together, lots of communication with cardiac muscle. And we'll talk about this again when we get to the cardiovascular system. A very unique way, the way cardiac muscle kind of surrounds the heart. That's it, folks. As I said, you'll need to know all these new slides for the midterm in a couple of weeks. Thanks for listening. We'll see you later on today.